I'm nervous.
We are live. Right now we are live. We have 10 seconds before we begin. We got our pumpkin Christmas tree. We're good to go.
What kind of advice do you have to homeowners?
Practicing that preparedness, starting the conversation now is always going to be a benefit to any association out there.
And welcome to Recovery Report Live. I'm Dan Odess, president of GlobalPro, where we manage risk to recovery, and we have managed more than $1 billion in that recovery. I'm super excited for our new format today. This is the first time we've done something like this. We actually brought our guest in the studio, share our space with us. Before we get to the guest though, want to hit on some important topics, some issues that are going on in the industry, talk a little bit about that real quick, and then get right to our guest who's sitting right next to me. And we're going to talk about an exciting topic, obviously, a lot of focus on NFTs, blockchain, smart contracts. The whole crypto industry is exploding. There's so much opportunity there, and I thought it was about time that we started taking a deeper look into these things, particularly because of GlobalPro's investment in InsurTech. We do have a tech company that we have made a significant investment in it from early on. I would say it's probably about 2015, so about a third year in business. We jumped into that and started making investments, started developing our technology early on to track claims, to manage things for our clients. Not only the claims, but also the policies, the renewals, those things. Technology has always been important to GlobalPro. There was an explosion of storms, though, in the Atlantic and the Gulf for a number of months there, and we are supposedly right now in the heat of it. So speaking of tracking claims, we also track the storms. And the technology that is going into tracking these storms is getting better and better. I don't know if you've seen it just recently. NOAA just started showing pictures and videos from a sailing drone that rolled through several of the hurricanes to give even more important data as it relates to the storms and their intensity, the wave action, things like that. We're going to be getting all kinds of new science and information from it. I think it's going to help with predicting where they're going to go. But right now they don't have much to chase because we really only have an area of interest off the coast of the Carolinas. But again, more technology that's going to help track these things, help identify intensity, help identify where these things are going and what we should expect as it gets closer to land, because we used to see that massive cone 5 days out and everyone's scrambling around. Hopefully we can have a little more consensus as to where it's going to go. It'll be a little bit of less of a surprise, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of this technology, particularly now they're getting into a storm right at the sea level and seeing the wave action and actual wind action right there, particularly in South Florida where we really are at sea level. It's really important to be able to understand what's going to go on as that storm comes along. But that's about technology, right? And that's what we're going to be talking here today about. So without further ado, I do want to bring on our next guest, Mr. Eugene Dorthman, a good friend of mine. Thanks for coming on today. What's going on, man?
Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
I'm the first guy here.
Yeah, man.
I'm pumped.
This is it. All new organization here. We moved everything around in the studio space, but we have a big Griffin studio here to allow us to do this and all the technology in order to make it happen. Super excited to have. So before we get all into the NFT blockchain, tell us a little about Pro Player Insurance, your type of clients, what got you into it.
Sure.
By the way, you've been with us once before. We had a little technical difficulty.
That's why I'm here, by the way.
Yes, yeah. So we're going back. Talk a little about Pro Player Insurance.
Sure.
Talk about what your type of clients, the things that you're dealing with.
Yep. So Eugene Dorfman, Pro Player Insurance, founded the company in the middle of 2017. Probably went live officially in 2018. Concentrating on personal insurance for professional athletes, high net worth individuals. Started the company from scratch, 0 clients. Got my first NFL client in 2018, July, I believe, and grown the business now from 0 to about 50 professional athletes, NFL, NBA, entertainment, and various high net worth individuals. All over America, concentrating on all lines of insurance, leading with disability and life, and got into property casualty, obviously. So home, auto, umbrella, jewelry, valuables, collectibles, art, wine, etc. So my company grew, and at this point, it's anything that has to do with insurance on a personal side, we do.
So we had a little chance before we went live
Yep.
to talk about technology in the life insurance. So, for our audience, you do a lot of life insurance. We don't talk a lot about life insurance on this show, but again, great reason to have you
Yep.
on, because we're really just talking about insurance news we can use, really focused on community associations and business owners who I'm sure, would be looking for that advice. But where is life insurance with technology? How has it adopted, and what are the issues you're seeing or some of the successes?
It's super early, so a lot of life insurance underwriters and companies and carriers are just starting to adapt technology, right? And we're having some bumps while doing it. So big carriers, so I work with Mass Mutual a lot, New York Life, right? Big carriers are pushing technology, right? So they're saying, hey, we have this underwriting, we'll do it ASAP. It's 10% approval rate, right? So when I'm telling my client to go do this and there's a chance to get approved, it's almost like this high up with a disappointment going, well, sorry, you're not approved automatically. We're gonna have to do the old school way, and that is schedule a blood and urine with a nurse to come to your house, right? With COVID, it's another obstacle, right? People don't want strangers in their house,
Yeah.
right? So you have to do blood and urine, you have to do an application, old school way, right? Then you have to have a phone interview with another person, right? Then you have to sign a HIPAA where the underwriters are going to access your personal information, and then make their decision on what they think the risk is, right? And the risk is going from, the super healthy or not, right? And I recently had a client, it's a good story about why technology is important, not a smoker, never had a cigarette, happened to be at a birthday party of his father, happened to puff a cigar, it was last year. Not a smoker, there's no data, there's nothing, he doesn't smoke, he puffed a cigar, he made a mistake. The blood and urine exam was literally a week after. The nicotine that he inhaled wasn't out of his system yet. He was approved healthy tobacco smoker, and we couldn't do anything because life insurance is, if once you get a nicotine rating, you have to be stuck with it for a year. So we just finished yesterday reapproving him, and he is healthy non-tobacco, right? But because he made that mistake, and it's old school way, he got approved with the smoker rating.
Wow. And
he's been paying for it.
it's like all of this information, we talked about earlier, is like, where is it being stored? Where, you talk about the smart contract
Yep.
technology, right? So, how is it being stored? Like, how are claims being administered? Do you see any changes or evolution of that process as it relates to some of these life and health and benefit? I mean, are you seeing anything go on there?
I see effort.
Yeah.
I see conscious effort from carriers to go into technology. And I think we spoke right before the show started,
Yeah.
right? That technology is going nowhere, right? And if you are not adapting technology and accepting that technology is here to stay, are you going to be surviving the next 30, 40 years, even 20 years? And the answer is probably no, right? And I think the carriers know that when it comes to life insurance, disability insurance, personal insurance, we're dealing with humans. You can't technologize a human. We're not robots,
Right.
But at the same time, we're getting in more and more information. The iWatch, right? I have a carrier, John Hancock, that offers free iWatches for their clients,
Yeah.
for term insurance. And if you use it and participate in their wellness program, you keep the iWatch for free. I mean, iWatch is $400. Right?
Yeah.
So I was talking to a carrier, and I said, where's the money in that? And he's like, are you joking me? We're going to spend $400 to have all this data about our clients. And we know that if somebody's using the iWatch and they're running every day and jogging every day and working out, chances are they're not dying.
Yeah.
That's a good client for us, right? And that's very interesting. And I think eventually we're going to get into this where technology, data, information, which is what blockchain is, right? It's
Yeah.
access of information.
Right.
For insurance companies is going to be helpful with underwriting, right? I think 30, 40 years from now, with the kids being born today, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be enough data where if a 30, 40-year-old person's looking to get life insurance, right? A life insurance company is going to press a button and go, we've seen all your doctor visits, we've seen what you make, we know what you do, and this is the risk.
And we see your habits.
And we see habits,
Yeah.
right? And we know where the risk is, and you know, maybe there's going to be variance, but it's not going to be big, right? It's not going to be taking a person and making a human decision with human error involved, right? So I think that's where it's going.
And if you tokenize that, you know, you and I share a special interest in NFTs and cryptocurrency,
Yes,
and we
love that.
we are
We love
constantly messaging each other on social media, text message, email. Sometimes I'm not even sure if the message is coming from social media or else. I'm like, oh, where did I send it
That's
to,
right.
Eugene? So, and being able to track this stuff, but also too is that your kids inherit some of your I guess your biological dispositions to certain foods and certain illnesses, if you will. So again, it creates a smart contract, something that an insurance company can use to model the risk and to look at these things. Something that we see a little bit on the property casualty side as well. And you just, you know, you've launched the property casualty stuff. So, and we had this conversation about how where's the use of smart contracts? Where is it evolving within the property casualty industry? Why aren't we seeing it yet? Now, and I believe being a more on the policyholder side and advocating for my clients when dealing with claims or placing insurance or recovering and making sure that we're always meeting their expectation in some sort of way, it would be helpful if we knew the history of certain property and had some sort of transparency around claims that may have occurred at the property prior to ownership 100%. And things like that. Like, where is that information? And what I've recently learned is that a lot of the insurance companies are collecting and keeping this information. There's no transparency in it, but perhaps with now the blockchain and NFTs, the use of NFTs, maybe there's a way to transfer this information from owner to owner, and it's kind of, the tangible and non-tangible, the non-fungible token that goes along with it. I mean, you and I were watching the success of Vaynerchuk. He just recently had this big launch of VFriends, and then he went into Sotheby's and then sold the physical art that was turned into that digital content. I mean, why isn't that? What do you think are some of the stumbling blocks, considering your knowledge and experience in dealing with the NFTs and the cryptocurrency? What do you hear from, let's say, some of your other colleagues and stuff like that? What are their concerns, particularly from people that are like not into it yet?
Fluff.
Yeah.
It's fake.
Yeah.
Right? It's bullshit, if we can swear here,
Yeah.
right?
Feel free, man. We're unplugged.
Right. So
Literally.
I hear, so let's use Cool Cats, for example, right?
Big
great
fan.
NFT. We got to give a shout out to Brett Dugan, right?
Yes.
Put us on.
Yeah.
He'll be watching it. I told him I'll give
What's his
him a
handle?
plug.
What's his handle?
He changed it, but it's Brett_Dugan, or it's @banner with 4
All right,
R's.
we'll make sure it's in the
Yeah, we'll
comment
make
section.
sure that. But he's been changing it, and I don't know which one he's using now, but probably one of the first early adopters. I'm going to use my personal experience with somebody who saw NFTs before I did, right? And it was in January this year. So my buddy calls me and goes, "Man, you should buy CryptoPunks." I'm like, Google CryptoPunks. He knows I'm in crypto, so he knows I had some Ethereum put away, right? And NFTs are in Ethereum or Solana right now, right? And I Google CryptoPunks, check the price. 15 Ethereums. I look up the market, and I see Ethereum's at $3,000, and I do a little multiplication. I was 45 grand. Are you out of your mind? I'm not paying $45,000, right?
Yeah.
For a picture of an 8-bit digital picture of a face.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Okay, no problem. 4 or 5 months go by, CryptoPunks are 200 ETH floor, right? And they're worth millions because it became a face of digital art. So technology meets art, right? CryptoPunks were one of the first. Think Mona Lisa. Why is Mona Lisa priceless? If you see Mona Lisa, it's not good. It's not a good painting, but it has a value 400 years later of being one of the first, pictures of Leonardo da Vinci. And what value is it? It's not a value of the poster or the paint that was used, right? It's just society has a value on it. So CryptoPunks were one of the first digital art. Great, they skyrocket. I miss on that. June, same guy, Brett. You should look into Bored Apes. Bored Apes, 4 Ethereums, 2 Ethereums. Picture of a monkey.
how is this going to be worth
What? I'm like,
millions
are
of
you out
dollars?
of your mind? I'm not buying a picture of a monkey
Yeah.
for $8,000.
Yeah.
You don't understand. And I didn't understand, right?
Yeah.
You don't understand. There's technology, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, dude, you don't understand. I don't even buy real art for $8-10 grand.
Right.
I'm not buying a picture that I can screenshot. That's how I was thinking at the time.
Right. Just like you can take a picture of the Mona Lisa, which
right.
millions
That's
of
right.
people do.
That's right. So
But
that's when
people would pay a priceless amount of money for it.
to have
Right.
same thing. So I started researching. I'm like, man, this is, and now I like to dive into information, and I love having access to information, because 10, 15, 20 years ago, that information wasn't there. So if you want to find something, all you got to do is open up your laptop.
Yeah.
And instead of going on Instagram, right? Even on Instagram, you can find information, right? But you just got to look. Information is there. Social media, Google, YouTube, Twitter. You can connect with any people
Yeah.
you want. I mean, you and I, funny thing is meeting for the first time today, face to face, but we've talked numerous times. We had
Right.
numerous conversations. I feel like I know you way more than in reality how well we'll know each other, right?
Right.
So I started doing the research on NFTs. I found it very interesting. And I found it that NFTs are, and I'm going to use how I saw it, right? NFT technology is like the internet in 2000s, right? Wide open, right? Each specific project is like a website, right? So some websites are profitable,
Yep.
some websites are not.
And you watch people pay thousands of dollars
For
all day long, every day for a
Yes.
domain name.
That's right.
And that makes sense to them today.
Right.
Yeah.
So I started researching, and I was like, this is, so it's like, I realized that you don't buy an NFT because it's an NFT.
Right.
You buy it because you understand the project. You didn't buy Amazon for, there's a video of Jeff Bezos floating around that Amazon went from, in dot-com bubble, went from $120 a share to 10,
Yeah.
right? And there's people that held it, right? And they were greatly rewarded. Or there's people that understood what Amazon can do. They believed in Jeff Bezos. They believed in his company. They believed in his vision. And they bought it at 90% drop-off. And those people are probably millionaires right now, right?
Yeah.
What's Amazon stock at? 3,400 right now? 35?
I don't know, but I'm sure it's
There's-
high. Yeah.
19 years ago,
And
people,
growing, yeah.
19 years ago,
Yeah.
people got it for $10 a share.
Right.
$10 a share.
Like Bored Apes that you missed on.
That Bored Apes are missing. So, August 23rd, I remember this because I'll always, me and brother are talking, he goes, check out Cool Cats. And I'm going to tell you something, I didn't even check it out. What I did is that I'm not going 0 for 3 with this guy.
Yeah.
I'm just not, right?
Take a chance.
And I bought my first Cool Cat for 1.9 Ethereums, right? I don't know why I bought it. I bought it just because of an ego, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to miss out again. And I bought it, and I started researching it, and I got invited to the Discord of Cool Cats, right? Of that project. It's not a picture of a cartoon cat, right? I'm now a member of a community
Yeah.
of, at this point, I think it's 4,800 members, right? Of 9,800 units, right? That's how you gotta think it.
Yeah.
That except like instead of having X amount of shares of Apple that has a picture of Apple, my units have a picture of a blue cat. That's
Yeah.
how you gotta start seeing it, right?
Right. Well, you get a stock certificate when you buy stock.
But you don't get a start anymore.
Well, I'm just saying you did.
Right.
Yeah. But now it's, yeah, of course, it's on your dashboard, if you will,
Right.
like Morgan Stanley or whatever you use, right?
But
Yeah.
at
Or
the same
Robinhood,
time,
if you will.
But we have
Yeah.
removed now. Like
Yeah.
when I buy stock,
We don't need a physical paper anymore. We're okay with it being on a platform somewhere digitally, wherever it is.
Yep.
And and if you think about it, like kind of bringing it back to property casualty insurance and some of my early commentaries, like where can smart contracts and the blockchain technology be used? And one of the things we had talked about once before was, think about like title insurance, how antiquated it is. Like no one even knows why you even buy title insurance anymore.
Yeah,
Why
you won't need
so
it.
it's like, because most information is you can verify online digitally, right? And if you had the history of the property ownership in a blockchain, you would no longer theoretically, again, not an expert in title insurance, but my basic understanding, we do a lot of real estate work at GlobalPro. I have bought and sold millions of dollars of real estate. And I can tell you that when we get to this discussion with the attorneys about the title insurance, I always laughed out loud, even before you convinced me to buy my first cool cat.
Yeah.
So
I want it back, by the way.
yeah. I'm doing quite well with it, but and so I find I'm like, how can this not help eliminate those burdens?
Yep.
You know, it's something and then there's the word that comes up a lot. We hear this word a lot, utility, when we're talking about NFTs, things like that. What's the utility? There's no utility. It's all fluff. It's all, you know, nonsense. You've seen some countries, you know, buying El Salvador. Now they're using the energy of a volcano to mine for the stuff. And a lot of people don't even realize that about 20% of Bitcoin that was available is no longer. It's gone. It's been destroyed. It's like I think it was 300 thousandths of 1% of people on the internet actually own an NFT, which is remarkable if you compare those statistics to the amount of people that use social media, the amount of people that own domain names and own other digital content that has been widely accepted. And then you look at the actual utility and the advancements that are going on in the crypto and how it may help with other industries like insurance, and we keep bringing it back there, and we look at early adopters, like we were talking before the show about the life insurance and how it was kind of not working, and then you can think about like medical records and things like that, and that's a big advancement with blockchains. Like right now is a big focus is utilizing that for medical records for security reasons. And a lot of big privacy issues and things like that. I mean, there's such a deep, honest conversation can be had around it, and there's so many naysayers.
Let's talk about, and sadly, we had a big tragedy in Miami a few months ago, right? Building collapse.
Yeah.
Right? And tragedy happened. People died. Millions and millions of dollars were lost. Lives were lost, right? And it was a tragedy. It's probably one of the biggest tragedies in Miami of our community, right?
For sure.
And now when that happened, people start pointing fingers at each other, right?
Yeah.
What would I didn't do this, or I didn't imagine 200 years down the line, we're not alive, our kids are not alive, our grandkids probably not alive, right? But something like this happened. And with a press of a button, you press and you go, we don't need for you guys to mail documents or he said, she said, or he did this, then I didn't do that, and point. We'll know where was the mistake. And we'll know what did an inspector did, or what did they say, because it's going to be on a blockchain, right? It's going to be on our technology, it's going to be on a ledger of that building.
Yep.
So I've used this example a lot. I know you actually got me thinking about it, because we spoke about this maybe a month ago, right? And about in real estate, right? And imagine everybody buys a house, right? And you go in and you buy a house. And right now you'll go, 3 years ago, wow, new roof. That's all you got, you know, right? You know there's a new roof on the house. And you buy the house because the roof is great. But what if 50 years down the line, you press a button and you know who did the roof? You know, the company did the roof. You know when the roof, how much they paid for it, right?
How much did it cost to insure it?
Like all of those things. And you find out that the company that did the roof is actually bankrupt because they did bad roofs. You don't know that right now. You have to do a lot of research to find that information, right? It eliminates fluff. And I think that that's where it's going. It's information, right? People that have information have power. It's been like that throughout the history of our time, right?
Data.
Who had the data? Who had in the know? If you were in the know, you were going to be more successful than somebody who's not in the know, right? And blockchain technology going into an insurance, right? Let's tie it in. We both do insurance. Let's keep talking about insurance, right? Insurance is a contract right now of risk. Whether or not I'm insuring this iPhone, right, or this camera setup, or this building, or you.
It's a pretty good setup.
It's an amazing setup, by the way. I wish we can flip it. We're insuring the risk, right? But right now, there's so much gray area of this risk. And what's going to happen, and sooner than later, I hope it happens while we're alive, because I'm really excited on the next 100 years. And I probably won't be alive for the next 100 years, but I'm pumped, right? Because we're going through this digital renaissance, right? We're going through this renaissance that we learned about art renaissance in the 1600s, right? In Italy, like we're learning in history books, right? Everybody was painting, right? Then we learn about industrial revolution of the printing press and all this, and the assembly line, and all of those things that change where we're at today. Then in early 1900s, 120 years ago, cars, right? That was a revolution. Everybody was on horses, right? And 1960s, 1970s, computers came, right? And computers gave us access to information, computing, making faster decisions. And only 20 years ago, right, we have this information came, Google came.
Yeah.
That's access information. Everybody can find whatever they need to find. 20 years ago, that wasn't available.
Well, now it's a noun, verb, and an adjective for searching for things.
Right.
You know, for a place you go to search. It's become part of our vocabulary. You know,
But it's so
insane.
young. It's
Yeah.
so young.
Yeah.
We're so early,
Yeah.
right? If you think about it, we're with cars.
Yeah.
The cars are 100 years old, 120 for,
Yeah.
I think, 1904, 1905 was
Yeah.
Henry Ford's
Yeah.
car, right? All of those things means we're so early, and information is going to be put on everything, and we're not going away from it. Like, we're only going to get more and more and more, and the ledgers of everything is going to be around. You're going to know exactly what this person does. I mean, that's what an iWatch does.
Yep.
Like, people
Yep.
think an iWatch is so cool. An iWatch is giving information about yourself, right? How many steps did you take? Again, in insurance.
Yeah.
I don't know, you're wearing a watch that doesn't compute how many steps you take.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing today.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're sitting on a couch watching TV,
Yeah.
right?
Or your heart rate may be up or down or
Right.
escalated, or your O2 stats could be fluctuating right now, and
I don't know
you
if
could be
you're
on the
working
verge
out.
of having a heart attack. You know?
I mean,
Yeah.
we have, when life insurance does underwriting today,
Yeah.
what's the question? How many times do you work out?
Yeah.
You think person that works out 0 times a day?
He's going to say 0?
No, they say, oh, I walk at least 10,000
Yeah, but if I
steps.
could give them access to my health stats on my device, maybe they could actually better underwrite me and give me
Exactly.
a discount or give me better ratings on it.
100%.
Or also to mitigate their risk so they can give better rates to other people that actually do this, and maybe they don't insure the high risk person who then costs the money that I think this is a
Imagine
lot better.
you're taking this beautiful building, right? And you want to sell it.
Yeah.
And you fluff it up a little
Yeah.
bit, right? Maybe you put some little bullshit paint here or add a little bit here and there. But when I come in, I'm like, oh wow, it looks nice, and I buy it, and I find out there was all fluff, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
quality material
Yeah.
in the walls or in the paint.
Well, differentiating
But-
property from one property to the other, yeah.
But if I'm the painter, and I'm like, well, sorry, I got to put it on my blockchain, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I got to make a ledger of what I do. You can't fluff anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be, just like we have access to information as humans, I think everything around us is going to get more and more information. And I think in an insurance business, it's going to make it better.
Well, I think you hit on 2 points there, and I'll sum it up with this way: accountability and transparency. And I would say that in the nearly 10 years that the GlobalPro's been in existence, it's always been about accountability and transparency. Not only accountability with our own team, but also the insurance companies, and transparency, where part of the reason why we started developing the technology was for the purpose of for transparency. That was before this whole explosion in cryptocurrency and NFT. Now I'm thinking like, all right, how can we retool this, or how can we think differently about the technology we're developing to integrate some of this newer technology, this blockchain, to increase the transparency and the accountability. And I think that's just obviously a much bigger conversation than today, but awesome conversation, needless to say.
Yeah.
So great to break the format apart a little bit with
We
the
can
recovery
talk,
report.
I feel like
Yeah.
we can talk for hours
Yeah,
about this,
man.
because I've been so deep into
Yeah.
researching, understanding this concept, that like I can honestly talk and more, and I feel like you've known so much about it, and I love talking to you. And the real estate thing was, whatever I just said about real estate is, you got me thinking about it,
Yeah.
right? You had me thinking about the data behind each building, and I think that's so cool. I mean, obviously when the camera's off, we can probably talk for another hour about this stuff.
We will. But I don't want to do that. Obviously, we want to stick to our format. Even though we have broken up the format a little bit, it's still that 20, 30 minutes that our audience has grown to love. We want to hit important information that you can use, whether you're a business owner or a community association. That's what the show is all about. It's awesome to have you on, Eugene. How can our audience find out about Pro Player Insurance and your new property casualty business and life insurance needs?
So I'm very big on social media. Another basically blockchain of
Yeah.
you as a human, right?
Yeah.
Just thought of that, right? Like,
But who owns that?
Facebook, you don't own it.
Yeah.
Facebook deleted.
That's it, yeah.
Facebook was off the grid for 8
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
People were losing their mind.
Literally. Thought it was awesome. Your phone suddenly got quiet.
That's right.
And less distracting.
And No, people were on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm big on Instagram, social media. I'm Insurance Guy E across Instagram, Twitter, Eugene Dorfman personal page, LinkedIn, etc. I am me. I am a company as of this point. So the best way to get
personal touch.
Yeah, I'm growing. So I'm looking for office space. I'm looking for people, and it's a great problem to have, but it is an obstacle because I've never done it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited over what the next few years are going to bring. But yeah, so that's me, Insurance Guy E on Instagram and Twitter, Eugene Dorthman on LinkedIn and Facebook. I check my messages, so if people want to get a hold of me, they can.
Yeah.
I've learned it from few social media people that, don't big time people that message you, right? So
Yeah.
I try to respond to all the
Yeah, yeah.
messages. I try to reply to all the comments. So if you want
Once
to
you
get a
weed
hold
through
of
the
me-
bots and everything else.
Yep. So your profile is amazing.
Yeah.
DM me to collab. I
Yeah.
don't ignore that.
Well, that's awesome, Eugene. Thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, we'll make sure that all of your contact information is made available on our various social media channels as we tag you in them. I, again, want to remind everyone that tunes in every week, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, like us, follow us on all our social media. We want to continue to make sure that you have the information you can use, whether you're a business owner or a community association, high net worth individual, private office. This is where you want to come for that insurance information. We are live every Thursday at 11 o'clock providing you this information. Now, as you all may know, we are counting down 10 years. March 2022 is the anniversary for 10 years at GlobalPro. And with that, we continue to tell stories. We continue to share what made us successful. Also, what did we learn from our mistakes and where were our stumbling blocks and what's the adversity that led to our success. And as we celebrate that anniversary and we move into the holiday season, we want all of you to continue to join us. So again, as a reminder, hit the subscribe button, like us, and follow us on all the social media. And we'll see you next week right here, 11 o'clock on the Recovery Report Live. Thank you again to Eugene and all of our audience for tuning in. See you next week.